Hi everyone, it's Tahera and I'm going to show you how to make some fudgy chocolate brownies today. They were really quick and easy. I was surprised at how they turned out because I have never made brownies before. And I'm going to start off by chopping up this chocolate bar today. It was quite easy and quite hard at the same time, so when you go down the lines it was easy, but then when you're going diagonally it's a bit harder, so I suggest you do it with an adult and get them to help you. You need to put away half and melt half for later. Next, what we're going to do is combine our melted butter and our sugar and whisk it. Now I don't have my hand whisk like the manual one, and what I wanted to do is do it that way because the video that I followed actually shows you doing it with a hand whisk. I only had an electrical, but they still turned out okay. So as you'll see here, I'm adding my butter and my sugar, and I'm about to whisk it with a electric whisk. So as you'll see, it'll be kind of thick at first. I also used granulated sugar. I couldn't find caster sugar anywhere, and you know what, once it's made you can't really tell the difference, but as you can see, as I'm creaming it here, it does look a bit thick at the beginning, but as you keep going you'll see it'll get smoother and smoother. I did take a break and then I went to clean up the edges with a spatula because sometimes with the electric mixer things do get stuck to the side, and it's a nice way to make sure you are not wasting anything. So I did that a couple of times, and as you can see it gets creamier as you keep whisking it. I'm going back in with the spatula again, and now this time you can see it's a lot smoother. That's what I was doing. I was going back and checking the consistency with the spatula because sometimes you cannot tell when you're electric whisking and you don't want to overbeat it. And this is the consistency we're looking for. Next we're going to add some of our melted chocolate. So the chocolate that we cut up from earlier, I melted it in a double boil technique. It's the same technique I used in my Rice Krispies video, so please make sure you have an adult with you and allow the adult to do it. Wear protective gear as well if you've got oven gloves because we don't want burnt fingers. Pour all of that melted chocolate in and give it a good mix as well. You'll see it takes me a bit of time because mine actually went on the edges, so I had to take a couple of minutes to kind of clean it all up and put it in there. Don't want to be wasting any chocolate. Now you'll see, I told you earlier I don't have a chocolate whisk, a manual whisk, so what I'm doing is I'm going to use a spoon that I used to get the chocolate out to just mix it as well. And there we go. It does the same job because everything is liquid, so it's fine. And make sure to mix it in thoroughly. Don't worry about the colour again because we are going to go in and add some cocoa, and that will give us our rich brown texture of the brownies. Next we're going to add in our flour and the rest of our ingredients. So what we're going to do here, try and sift the flour if you can. I also can't find my sift because my kitchen is in an absolute mess right now because we're in the middle of redoing them. And once you've done that, try and fold in your mixture. So that's the cocoa powder. I added a tablespoon of that. Mine is quite bitter, so I stuck to a tablespoon. I think the recipe that I had said 2, so I'm glad I stuck to 1 for mine because it was quite strong. So that's the flour, the plain flour, and the cocoa powder. I'm also now going to add some baking powder. The reason being, with plain flour, when I bake, I found that it doesn't really rise. You also need to add a pinch of salt here as well, which I didn't do because my cocoa is so bitter. Now we're just going to combine all of it. I tried to do the folding technique with the spoon I have, and tried to just get it all evenly mixed in. Make sure to get up all the edges as well, and you'll see slowly it'll combine and give you that rich chocolatey colour that we're looking for. I mean, who needs a manual or an electric whisk? This spoon is doing the job for me. And just like we did earlier with the sugar and the butter, I'm going in back with the spatula to make sure I get any excess powder and cocoa off the edges. And then give it one last mix, or even fold it in with the spatula. That's also good. You can do that as well. And there I've added the chocolate pieces that we had left over. And that's going to give us our nice chunky taste. Now the chocolate pieces won't melt, so what you'll get is you're going to get some softened kind of gooey pieces, and that's what we are looking for. Now what I'm doing, as you can see, is pouring the mixture into a lined baking tray. Now I've lined it with baking paper, and I've made sure to leave a couple of inches on either side, and that's because once it's baked we want to be able to pull up the baking paper on either side so that we can cut it. Now that I've poured all of it in, I'm going to use that spatula to even out the mixture and try and get it as rectangular as possible. You don't need to go into all the little corners, but as even as you can. That way you can get nice texture on the top, and also make sure that none of it is going to be cooked unevenly. There we go. Now I've got the last bit of that spatula as well, because again, we don't do wasting over here. And also you can just leave it on top. I mean, it's a nice texture to just leave those blobs on top. Or you can go in and make those swirly type patterns that I was making, but they won't be that visible on top either. But it's down to you. There's my mixture, and it is ready to go into the oven. Now what I'm going to do is put this mixture and this tray into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes at 180 degrees C, and hopefully what we should come out with is something like this. So as you can see, the baking paper is at the bottom. What I did is I lifted the brownies out and I put it on top of a chopping board with the paper still intact. Pushed the paper down on the sides, and I got them chopping into chunks, and this is what I was left with. Do let them cool though, because you don't want to cut them while they're still warm. And here you go, there's the recipe for it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and do let us know what else you'd like us to make. Bye!